The intriguing nexus of mobsters and union leaders, a Machiavellian perspective. In the annals of organized crime, a curious alliance has at times emerged between mobsters and union leaders. While on the surface, this collaboration may seem puzzling, a Machiavellian analysis reveals that both factions share a common job function: the manipulation of fear to extract wealth. This essay explores the parallels between these seemingly disparate groups, examining how they employ fear as a tool to extract resources, whether through racketeering by the mob or other means by union leaders. 1. The art of fear and extortion. Mobsters and union leaders, despite their divergent aims, are adept at using fear as a means of coercion. Machiavelli would appreciate the mastery with which they employ this tactic. Mobsters engage in extortion, commonly known as racketeering, whereby they instill fear in individuals or businesses to compel them to pay protection money. Failure to comply often results in dire consequences. Union leaders, on the other hand, may not employ physical intimidation but utilize the fear of strikes, labor unrest, or disrupted operations to exert pressure on employers. This fear can lead to negotiations that benefit their members. 2. Financial gain through fear. Both mobsters and union leaders ultimately seek financial gain through their manipulation of fear. Mobsters extract protection money from businesses under the threat of violence, enriching themselves by exploiting fear to secure illicit income. Union leaders leverage the fear of labor disruptions or strikes to secure favorable terms, wage increases, or improved working conditions for their members. The threat of lost revenue motivates employers to negotiate. 3. Manipulating fear for different ends. While both factions manipulate fear, their ultimate objectives differ. Mobsters operate with purely self-interested motives. They amass wealth through illicit means, caring little for the broader societal implications of their actions. Union leaders, on the other hand, ostensibly work to enhance the welfare of their members. They employ fear strategically to achieve better working conditions, wages, and benefits for the workers they represent. 4. The question of ethics. Machiavelli, known for his pragmatic approach, would emphasize that the ethical considerations of such actions depend on one's perspective. Mobsters operate in the shadows, their actions universally condemned as unethical due to their criminal nature. Union leaders, while employing similar tactics of fear, do so within a framework of collective bargaining and labor rights. Whether their actions are deemed ethical or not may depend on one's stance on organized labor and workers' rights. 5. The nexus of fear and power. In the Machiavellian paradigm, power is often derived from the effective manipulation of fear. Mobsters and union leaders, despite differing objectives, wield considerable power through their adept use of fear-based tactics. In conclusion, the alliance, or at least the convergence of tactics, between mobsters and union leaders arises from their shared utilization of fear as a means of achieving their respective goals. While the ethical implications and ultimate aims may differ substantially, the Machiavellian lens highlights the centrality of fear as a tool for exerting influence and acquiring resources in the complex world of power dynamics. Unraveling the Machiavellian nature of unions, real-world insights. In the arena of labor unions and their leadership, real-world examples often shed light on the Machiavellian undercurrents that shape these organizations. While the ideals of worker representation and protection are laudable, examining concrete instances reveals a more nuanced reality where power, ambition, and self-interest often play pivotal roles. 1. The power play of union leaders. In the real world, union leaders often wield considerable influence, leveraging the collective strength of their members. An illustrative example is the leadership of the Teamsters Union in the United States. Jimmy Hoffa, a prominent Teamsters leader, was known for his shrewd maneuvering and use of fear to consolidate power. His reign was marked by allegations of corruption, including embezzlement and ties to organized crime. Hoffa's actions exemplify the Machiavellian pursuit of power and wealth within the realm of union leadership. 2. The calculated art of negotiation. Negotiation is a fundamental aspect of union activities, and some leaders have been criticized for prioritizing their own interests over those of the workers. A case in point is the 2019 General Motors (GM) strike in the United States. During the strike, the United Auto Workers (UAW) union, one of the most influential in the country, engaged in protracted negotiations with GM. While the strike aimed to secure better wages and working conditions for GM workers, it was later revealed that several UAW leaders had embezzled union funds for personal gain. This exposed the calculated Machiavellian tactics employed by some leaders, who ostensibly fought for worker rights while pursuing their self-interest. 3. Token victories and maintaining control. Union leaders occasionally provide token victories to maintain their positions and quell dissent. An example is the case of public sector unions in various countries. Public sector unions often negotiate for incremental wage increases and benefits for their members. These small concessions can serve as symbolic victories, creating the illusion of progress while ensuring the continued loyalty of union members and the stability of leadership. 4. Corruption and ethical quandaries. Corruption within unions, though not universal, has been documented in various regions. The example of the Brazilian Workers' Party, PT, and its ties to labor unions is instructive. PT, once associated with workers' rights and social justice, faced allegations of corruption during its time in power. These allegations extended to some labor union leaders who were accused of embezzlement and cronyism. This exemplifies the Machiavellian tendency of some leaders to prioritize their own interests, even within organizations ostensibly dedicated to worker welfare. 5. A comparative perspective. When comparing unions to industry leaders, it becomes apparent that both wield power and may employ Machiavellian tactics to achieve their objectives. Industry leaders, too, are not exempt from allegations of corruption and exploitation. In conclusion, the Machiavellian perspective offers valuable insights into the complex world of unions and their leadership. While the ideal of worker representation remains central, the realities of power dynamics, ambition, and self-interest often come into play. Real-world examples demonstrate that union leaders, like figures in other spheres, navigate this intricate landscape, sometimes sacrificing their original mission for personal gain. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for a more nuanced assessment of unions and their roles in our complex social and economic landscape.